All right, it looks like we're good to go. Michael, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Hey, I only have a few minutes here today, but I was glad to be able to stop by, and then I'll leave things in the hands of my colleagues, Chloe and Jason. My name is Michael Wood-Lewis. I'm co-founder of Front Porch Forum. I live in Burlington, Vermont. We started Front Porch Forum years ago in our neighborhood in the south end of Burlington in 2000, actually, 22 years ago, and expanded across the state. By 2013, we've been serving every community in the state since then. But when I heard we were going to be talking to a group of librarians, I was thrilled because local librarians have been huge allies of ours through the years as we've worked on our mission, worked on how we deliver our service, worked on getting the word out, we've gotten feedback, etc. And so I'm glad to have this connection. I had the privilege of addressing a state gathering of librarians. I can't remember how many years ago it was. Maybe some of you were there 10 years ago, maybe at St. Mike's at a training session. But anyways, I look forward to this opportunity, even though we can't be in person, but I'll hail the virtual, I guess. But I'll be eager to hear how it goes. And I'm just really glad for the chance to say hello.
Thank you so much for being here. I believe I was at that presentation, so
there we go.
Nice to see you.
All right, thank you, Michael. So I'll take the next bit here. My name is Jason Vandreich. I'm the Chief of Staff at Front Porch Forum. I've been here about 4.5 years, and I live in Burlington also, and I'm just so delighted to be in a group with this many librarians. That's just the coolest thing ever. My daughter spends a lot of time at Fletcher Free Library and at the library at Burlington High School, and those are both her happy places, and it's just a joy to get to do this training. So thank you. Chloe, do you want to introduce yourself real quick before we dive in?
Absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name is Chloe Tomlinson. I live here in Winooski, and I'm the Community Division Director at Front Porch Forum. So I lead the teams that manage the day-to-day of our core products, our forum, our directory, and our calendar, and our member support teams. And I'll say within the moderation team, we're oftentimes shouting out exciting events that we hear about as we're reviewing postings that are happening at libraries, and grateful for that sharing that happens on the forum.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I am working on getting my appropriate screen up here, and I'm finding that Microsoft Teams and Google Meet have subtle differences that I'm tripping up on. So I am going to just launch right in and see where that takes us. So I wanted to start.
Jason, do you see the little arrow? Like there's a little arrow that says share. For me, it's on the
tray.
top. Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can either share a specific window or your whole screen.
Beautiful. Thank you. I don't need that quite yet, but I was looking for it. I was looking for something that said present and not finding anything. So thank you. All righty. So I wanted to start with just an overview of Front Porch Forum's history, mission, where we are at currently, just to help everybody get on the same page about where Front Porch Forum is at, because we've changed quite a lot over the years. And I'll start with just our mission. Our mission has been unchanged from the start. It's to help neighbors connect and build community. And that really guides everything we do. Our end, the thing that we're pointing towards, is more resilient local communities, especially in challenging times. And that's what our 25 staff really focus on day in and day out, ever since we launched as a business back in 2006. In terms of geography, every community in Vermont has its own Front Porch Forum. In some places, it's one town, one forum. In other places, it's multiple small rural towns in a single forum. And in a few larger communities, there are sort of more neighborhood specific forums that are at the sub-town level. In the typical 1,000 household Vermont town, FPF averages about 800 members. So we have tremendous traction. That comes to about 207,000 what we call neighbor profiles, which means folks who are participating just as a resident of their community. Over 11,000 businesses, over 2,000 nonprofits, and over 2,500 local officials. And the vast majority of librarians fall in that camp because that encompasses anything that is part of local government. Our service has a number of core features, and we're going to look at them in a little more detail in a bit, but I'll just run through them quickly now so you know the overall picture. You're, of course, familiar with the forum, which is what goes out typically once a day with postings from neighbors. There's also a community directory with listings for almost all of the businesses and nonprofits that are in our system. That are members of Front Porch Forum. There's also a really powerful search feature on our website and on our mobile app that allows you to search for any posting or any event or listing in our directory that's in the system. And then finally, the other major component is paid ads, and that both pays the bills and also is part of the mission, because connecting local businesses, local governments, et cetera, with people in this community-oriented context is an important part of what we do. In addition to that feature set, we have 3 platforms. The core thing that most of our members use to engage with Front Porch Forum is our email forum, meaning the forum that shows up in your email inbox, whether you use Google or Fairpoint or what have you. But then we also have a website, which many people are familiar with from submitting postings. It's also where you can access a much deeper well of content than in the email forum that goes out each day, and everything from the email forum appears each day in the web forum. And then we also have a mobile app that reflects most of the features from the website in a really convenient, easy to use format on your mobile phone. Last, I'll talk just a little bit about our business model and on where we're going, just because that's important to frame out. We are a public benefit corporation, which means that both mission and profit feature in why we exist. They're both called out in our charter with the Secretary of State here in Vermont. And it means that everything we do has to both generate a profit so we can keep doing what we're doing and fulfill our mission. And we report every year to the Secretary of State on how we're doing at delivering that benefit. That's part of what you have to do as a benefit corporation. And you can go to our website and read that benefit report if you like. It's a nice snapshot of what we've been up to. And then in terms of revenue, we have really 3 things that pay the bills. One is paid ads that you've all seen in your forums. Another is paid access. Custom access for government entities where they get access to all of the forums that are part of their jurisdiction, and tiered pricing where businesses and nonprofits can pay for a little more access than they get at the free level. And then the third thing, in addition to paid ads and paid access, is donations. And we're just about to launch this Sunday into our fall supporting member campaign, where we basically pass around a tip jar and invite people to support their forum. And really what that makes possible is Front Porch Forum remaining independent, locally owned, and not beholden to outside investors who might pull us off of our mission. So those 3 things together really help keep us strong and local. Then in terms of where we're going down the road, we have unparalleled traction in Vermont, as I mentioned earlier, a total of somewhere in the neighborhood of 220,000 members. And people usually get great results from their postings. They find their dog, they borrow a ladder, what have you. What that all adds up to, though, is our mission, which is increased social capital and stronger local communities. And really what we're focused on for the next few years is building on that to do more to deliver on our mission in Vermont. And people always ask, oh, this is such a great thing. Are you gonna expand it across the country? And our answer consistently is no. We want to do more in Vermont. And we have small experiments going with minor expansions to selected areas of adjacent states, but really our focus is here. We are all about Vermont. So that's kind of the big picture of Front Porch Forum, where we're at, what we do. I'm going to hand it over now to Chloe to talk a little bit more about the inner workings.
Thanks, Jason. So I wanted to start with a little bit of the FPF basics. So in terms of logging into FPF, there's a couple of key things to know. You probably have an FPF account. Each account has one email address associated with it. So when you're logging into your account. But there's also, we also have a variety of profile types. And those are different types of users that can be on an FPF account. So for example, we have neighbor profiles, which is of course our most common profile type that anyone living or working in Vermont can sign up for. There are business profiles, nonprofit profiles, and government profiles. And with each of those sort of user types, there are a different framework of ability to post and engage on the forum. So librarians are under our government profile type. And so the government profile type allows for 10 postings a month and 20 calendar events. And we'll talk more about those soon, but want you to be aware of that your ability to many are not aware of the ability to post 20 calendar events. So I want to share that. Neighbor profiles can post 20 times in the forum and have 10 calendar events. So a little bit more restricted. And in case you have some questions about how to set up a government profile, I'll start sharing my screen. And what you'll see is my account page. Jason, can you give me a shout to confirm if it's sharing? Jason?
I do not see a sharing yet.
Oh. Sorry about that. How about now?
Yes, there we go.
Great. So you can see my account details, which is associated with my FPF email currently. My profile, I have a neighbor profile living here in Winooski. And then I also, as a demo, added a librarian government profile in Winooski. If you currently just have a neighbor profile on your account, you can easily request a government profile with this button at the bottom of your account page. So from here, I want to shift into just sharing the basics of posting both in the forum and also calendar events. So on the FPF website, you can easily compose a posting by clicking the Compose button at the top right of the window. There's also a link to compose a posting from the emailed forum issues. So it's pretty easy to find. At the top of the Compose posting page, if you have multiple profiles on an account, you'll have the option of which to post from. So right now it shows me posting from my neighbor profile, but I can switch to post from my government profile as a librarian. There's a wide variety of posting categories. For some of the categories, they allow you to submit an attached event. For example, event and announcement both allow the ability to post to the forum only, the calendar only, or the forum and calendar. So for example, if I wanted to submit an event for a book sale, I could put in the subject and the body, and I have the option to submit this as a posting to the forum only, or I can submit it to the forum and also make sure that it appears on the calendar as a calendar event as well by clicking the forum and calendar button. So I can add start date. I'll note that there's also the possibility of making it a recurring event. So if you click here, you can have different recurring frequencies. Maybe there's a writer's circle that happens on a weekly basis. You can save time by submitting it as a recurring event. There's also a new feature as of just a couple of weeks ago to indicate the location of the event. And there's a possibility of putting an in-person event location. Also can include for online events an event URL, or for hybrid events, both location and URL. And finally, at the bottom, you can see that there's this checkbox, allow people in neighboring forums to see this content. So if this box is checked, then members who are in forums neighboring yours can see the posting if they log into the FPF website, and they can also see the event on the calendar. In the case that's pretty common for librarians, if you're submitting sort of upcoming events for the month, and there's a long list of a variety of different events, you can, we usually recommend actually submitting the events, submitting one posting to the forum. And then for each of those individual events, you can even just submit them to the calendar only. So if you choose calendar only, the event won't be published in the forum as a posting, but it will appear on the calendar for members to see. And that can save in space in a posting, or save the number of postings that you're submitting if you can submit events directly to the calendar and then summarize those events in a posting. So from here, I want to take a look at the calendar itself. Here's the—
Chloe, before we head off of the composed posting, if somebody wanted to do what you just said and do a posting that summarized a bunch of events, is there a way that they can include in their posting a link to the calendar events?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. It's a great question. So each event on the calendar has its own unique URL. So here you can see I'm, for example, there's a Pokemon Club at the Winooski Library. If I wanted to include that in a list of events coming up for the Winooski Library in October, I could click this Read More button, and this provides a unique URL that I can use to copy into the body of the posting and easily direct members to it. All right. And so now we're on the calendar page. You can easily see a month view. There's a lot going on here in Winooski. We already looked at the Pokemon Club. There's also free summer veggies from the Winooski Library. There's different local government events happening, city council and the CCB meeting. There's a play group that is organized on here. Oh, that's also at the library, of course. And in addition to the month view, you can more easily read on the week view. This is a list of the upcoming events. And I'll note that soon there are going to be some user interface updates to this layout. And in addition to making it look a little easier to read, it will also provide the opportunity for you to easily see all of the events from your forum and also neighboring forums on this one view. So you get a better sense of what's going on in the broader area if you would like to. Currently, you can still see events happening in neighboring forums by using this drop-down menu and toggling over to another forum. So for example, if I want to see what's happening in the Old North End East, I can switch over to that calendar easily and take a look at what's happening in my area, but outside of my forum. And finally, one thing some folks aren't aware of for the calendars, you can actually embed the calendar. If it's useful for patrons, it's possible to embed the FPF calendar onto another website so it's accessible. Right, and just finally wanted to highlight some features in the forum. So go back to the Winooski forum. So this is the online version of the forum. Most people are most familiar with the emailed version. You can always also access it on the website. Similar to the emailed forum, you can see the table of contents for an issue and then read each individual posting and reach out to the author or reply to the forum. In the web forum, you can also easily scroll back to previous issues if you're interested, or even jump to the archive and quickly scan for through headlines of previous issues going all the way back to the start of the forum. And for Winooski, we're pretty far along. It's the 4,691st issue. So there's a lot of content to look through. I'll switch back to the forum. You can also here see postings from neighboring forums. So since I'm a member of the Winooski forum, I can read postings like I already mentioned in Old North End East or over in Colchester even, and find out what's happening in neighboring forums. And one handy tool wanted to point out is our search function. So instead of, if you don't have time to scan through all the headlines of the archive, you could also do a quick search in the toolbar on the top left. Maybe I want to see if there are any postings mentioning where neighbors are mentioning the library. So I can do a quick search here. Oh, and this is pulling up a lot of nonprofits supporting libraries that are directory listings. I'm gonna just search for postings right now. So you can either focus on postings or directory listings. And
Chloe, can I mention one quick thing right here that I think is important to note, which is that libraries are not yet in our directory because we've incorporated businesses and nonprofits in the directory so far, and there's some under the hood data issues that we need to resolve in order to incorporate government profiles into the directory as well. And we're very intent on doing that because it would be great to have libraries in here. I just wanted to explain why they're not there yet and make it clear that that's definitely on our radar, but differences in the way that nonprofit and business versus government profiles are structured means that there's a little extra work for us to get there.
Yeah, that's a great point. So here, this is a list of postings that are related to, involve content around libraries. So it's mostly postings from librarians, it appears, but this could also pull up any discussion about the library coming from neighbors as well, in case that was of interest. So the search function can be really handy as well. Jason, is there anything else we should cover in the overview? If not, we could open up for any questions at this point.
Sure. Sorry, I was muted. God, 3 years in, you'd think I could manage a mute button. But so the one other thing that I think is worth mentioning is that Chloe showed how when you're looking at the calendar, you can go up to the top and pick different forums to look at the calendar for your neighboring forums. We are shortly going to roll out a feature where you'll be able to see, if you'd like, all of the events from your forums and neighboring forums all together. So especially for smaller towns where there might not be quite as much going on in your town and where people draw on a larger radius for things to do and keeping up on what's going on in the community, it'll be very handy to be able to see a consolidated calendar for your forum and all the forums around it. And that's going to roll out probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks. Our tech team is working on it right now. That's the only thing I can think of that we didn't cover, and I see some hands up. So why don't we take questions before we go on to next stuff? How do we take questions in Teams?
I think we can just shout out. I see Gail has a hand raised.
Thank you. So, can you hear me yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm wondering, are you recommending all libraries register as government or just municipal libraries?
It's a great question. It really depends on your legal setup. If you're a municipal library, you register as government. If you are a nonprofit library that is not legally part of local government, by all means, register as a nonprofit. And our goal, down the road is to show all libraries, because, the vast majority of your patrons don't really care if you're a nonprofit library or a government library. They just care that you're their library. And we want to get to a place where those all show up together. And we'll get there soon. But in the meantime, absolutely, if you're a nonprofit library, you can sign up as a nonprofit library and you will show up in the directory right now.
Thank you. But would you also, is there a difference between what our benefits are? Do we still get 20 postings and this and that and the other thing?
That's a Chloe question.
The nonprofit posting limit is lower.
Okay.
So maybe we'd need to navigate that question. Our accounts team could maybe talk more directly with you about that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we certainly wouldn't want the profile type that you sign up as to be an impediment to you being able to post. So I would imagine there wouldn't be any impediment to giving a nonprofit library the same posting limit as a municipal library. Who else?
This is Joy. I have a question. Can you sign up for a government profile in a town that you don't live in? Like if you don't live in the town where you work? Like your library's in a different town than your own residence?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can. Yeah.
And then another question. Oh, go ahead.
You would, just a clarification, what you would do is you would put in the address of your workplace, so you put in the address of the library, and then that allows you to join the forum where the library is located, even though you as an individual live somewhere else.
Okay. And then can you post to neighboring forums? Can you say like share your event with the next town over?
You still have the option for that checkbox. Yes, but you can't post directly to another forum. So since I'm here in Winooski, I can't choose to submit a posting directly to the Old North End, but I can check the box, which would allow people in the Old North End and Colchester to see my posting if they were to log into the website, or if it's an event, to see that on the Winooski calendar, which they have access to.
I think the events option is going to be particularly powerful as soon as we roll out the feature that puts events from your forum plus neighboring forums all onto one calendar. And once we do that, we're going to be doing even more to encourage people to go check out the calendar, because there's going to be a lot there. So I'd say, anything that's an event, make sure to put it on the calendar, and then that'll get that broader visibility. I see Holly's hand up.
Hi there. So I just wanted to clarify. So my library serves Jericho and Underhill, and I actually am allowed to post in both places. I don't know how it happened, but I can do that.
What that really underscores is Front Porch Forum is run by human beings, and we all of the rules that we have that make Front Porch Forum work are flexible when the circumstances call for it. So that's a perfect example. You serve both those communities. I'm guessing at some point in the past, either you or your predecessor must have contacted one of our member support people and said, hey, I serve both communities. And our member support people said, great, we'll give you access to both forums. And that's the kind of thing that we're able to do, because, when you're dealing with Front Porch Forum, you're dealing with actual humans here in Vermont.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. And also, I was a very early adapter too, probably maybe before all those rules were in place.
Exactly. I remember when I first moved to Vermont 14 years ago, before I even moved here, I knew I was moving here, but hadn't moved yet. And I contacted Michael and said,